Good day, everyone. I'm your host, James Hicks from Hicks New Media, and welcome to Perspectives in Focus, where we highlight the people, industries, ideas, and the technology that are making positive strides within our society today. Listen, for all you 30, 40, 50-year-olds and that are fans of R&B music, you definitely know this man and his work. Heck, with their debut album in 1992, Rolling Stone described Shai as joining the spiritual yearns of Take Six with the secular pull of Boys to Men. Come on now. We're going to start off like that, right? Today's guest is Mr. Garfield Bright, original member of the multi-platinum selling R&B quartet Shai. That's not all he is. He's an educator, he's an activist, mentor, author, and he's a doctor. We're going to reminisce about the early days, talk a little bit about his role with Shai and what Shai's role is in culture. We're also going to go into state of affairs, right, in today's world and how Garfield is helping really to find ways to allow, listen to this now, to allow Black males to navigate inequitable power struggles, particularly within our urban school systems and the entertainment industry. It's a mouthful, but we're going to get into it today. Listen, as the group's name implies, he and the rest of his brothers continue to be true personifications of destiny. Let's go. Hold up. Wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, come on now. So everybody sit up straight now. Dr. Garfield Bright is in the building. How you doing, sir?
What's up, my man?
Come on now.
I'm doing good.
I told you backstage, I said, I bring you on like Steve Harvey, didn't I?
I hope I can live up to that one. That was nice, man.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Listen, we going to get into some things. We're going to have a conversation. I think we might even blow some folks' mind because, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago and said, someone like you in your role, in your perspective, in your standing in society and in culture, you're multifaceted. You're not just up there singing a song. You're not just doing that thing that you've done for multiple decades with the group and by your own.
Yeah.
You're an educator. You're an activist.
Yes, I am.
You're a doctor, right? So all of that three-dimensional piece, and we want to really get into that and have that conversation. Shouts out to everyone joining. Listen, I didn't lock down the comments. So if you're not a subscriber, you can't talk to Mr. you can't talk to Mr. Bright. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. But before we get into it, I've been wanting to do this one drop for like the last 3 weeks, ever since we started having this conversation. It's only going to be real quick. And then after this drop, I want you to tell the folks who you are.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to do. I can only play that long, right? Because I don't want to get copyright strikes from Google or anything or from y'all.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. I couldn't even use our titles or any songs or pieces of songs in my dissertation, even if it was my music, for copyright infringement. Like the university just was not allowing that.
Wow.
Period. That's my song,
That's crazy, right? You the one doing it. Okay, we can get into that part right there too. We can get into that. Listen, man, let me have you tell your origin story. Right, I can only tell it at 35,000 foot level, but for folks who again may not have been part of that 90s, 2000s R&B not even fad, but just culture, just knowing who you are and what it is that you've done and that you do. Give the folks a little bit of love in terms of who Garfield Bright is.
You mentioned the word origin story, so I feel the onus is on me to kind of like just speak about where I'm from and where I am today in terms of like just a path and what it kind of entails. I'm a free spirit, first off, and I was actually born, and we have a show there in a few weeks, but I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, in Meharry Hospital, Davidson County. My mom and my pops. And I didn't live there, but for too long before we moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. We lived on Kingston apartments, but I also lived in this place called Racooley Village, where people who I know to this day, some of the realest people and some of the just best experiences I've ever had in my life happened there. It was this weird womb that was like a real village. and everybody in the community knew one another. My grandmother was a foster mother of like 16, 17 children at all times. So as an only child, when I would be with grandma, I would just be one of 15 to 16 kids. So it kind of shaped me in that way a lot. And it was country, but it was dope. I'm picking blackberries, blueberries, honeysuckle, going to the creek, filling up a gallon jugs of water, tadpole fishing with just the line and the hook, like all of that at the playground, balling out on a clay court, And then, but from there, I moved to Montgomery at age 6, where I got called nigger for the first time. I understood, that aspect of life, and I was, that was shaping me as well, being in the deep South at an early age and everything. And then, so from there, my mom and dad got a divorce when I was about 9. My dad moved to Boston, and when I was coming of age, at a certain point, my mom felt like I should probably grow up with my father's influence, and that was around 12-ish, and I moved to Boston. And that kind of like was my real coming of age time. Hip hop was burgeoning. It was a nascent little cultural form coming from the Black community. It was
Right.
a dope era for like music. Disco had turned into rap, and so rap started having its origins. And Beat Street was out as a movie. I was popping and breaking.
You was out there with the cardboard too. Come on now, we was both out
Yeah,
there
I
with
was
our
doing all
cardboard
that in
box.
Boston. That was kind of like my identity was starting to shape. I always played basketball. I was always good at it. I had a few, offers, a couple of D1s and most
Okay.
D2s. But coming out of Brockton High School in Massachusetts, made a little name for myself. And ultimately, I went to Howard University, 17-year-old freshman. And that's where I met Darnell Rensselaer, who was one of the other original members. He was my roommate. We were freshmen roommates. And his dad, if you ever seen the movie Lean on Me with Joe Clark, Eastside High School, Darnell actually went to that school. His dad was the social worker there, but his dad was also the manager for a group named Riff, who was in the bathroom scene singing Very East Side. So a couple of those dudes actually sing in Shai now, but Riff was like family to us.
That's crazy, man.
But yeah, and so that's where I kind of became Garfield. Starting off, I was in a group called Black NIA Force, Freedom Organization for Racial and Cultural Enlightenment. NIA means purpose. And Raz Baraka, the Honorable, who was mayor of New Jersey, he was one of the leaders of the organization with a female named April Silver. And at the time, we were like a little paramilitary type group, Black Panther-esque type of thing on Howard's campus, spray painting Africa and Manga in front of Douglas and trying to escape so the police wouldn't get mad at us. But we were doing little stuff like that, helping tutoring around the community, feeding the homeless. But then they tried to put a person on the board of trustees named Lee Atwater, who's a KKK member. And we took over the A building. We looked at the schematics of the A building like a few weeks before, schemed out how we would have to leave the post office part accessible because that'll give them cause to bring federal troops. So we want to make sure. So we planned it, we really did our due diligence. I got donations from the community, roped off the windows with water hose all the way to the other side. So if you open that one, that side will stay shut like you couldn't. So we had a roof crew, and we were only letting certain people out of one door. And like we were serious until we got tear gassed out of the building, about 5 days in or whatever. But we affected change on Howard's campus. And then from there, I joined the Nation of Islam out of the Black NIA Force. But during those times, I ran for Howard University student body president. I lost to Ivan Bates by like 190 votes. And he was the NAACP representative on campus. Dope, brother. I think he's an attorney now, but just big respect to that guy. I love that guy. And but yeah, I became a formidable opponent. We had, I think, the highest turnout for voting, wild when I ran. But I had already become, prior to that, I was a liberal arts student council vice president, running for office. I didn't know I had this, but NIA Force wanted to have that plan where they wanted people from the organization to run in every school at Howard so they could secure those budgets. And then they were going to have April and Raz for HUSA and secure the bigger budget. And then together we could do collective programming that we wanted to see happen at Howard. And I ran, but they wouldn't. They let us run as a slate, which we did, but they let people elect us as individuals. And out of my slate, I was the only one that won. So I was kind of like behind enemy lines as vice president.
Yeah, okay.
But it taught me a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned, about speaking. We had to do debates. And I found that I had a real debate skill I didn't know about. Like I was really good at thinking real quickly off the top of my head and making salient points and cogent, real concise points. And I was winning, and I had a little appeal to me. It was a real cool experience for me, and it shaped what I was going to become once I got into Shai, because for some reason, because I'm tall or something like that, people would always come up to me and engage me, even though I would rather stand up against the wall and just chill.
Everybody try
You
to
know, like
stick to, try to
target.
stick in the
Yeah,
cut, but
so,
everybody want to come talk to me. Okay. Okay.
but I was like kind of target, so that those types of skills from my past enabled me to be confident enough, especially in the circles, the industry circles, and certain people with certain kind of like credentials who want to pick your brain, or see what kind of substance you have, or even
Yeah.
see what your vulnerabilities lie. I at least was able to always hold my own in discourse, and that helped me in good stead trying to get into grad school and those kinds of things. But music for me during those times, our party music was Eric B. and Rakim saying stuff like, with knowledge of self, there's nothing I
Yeah.
can't solve. 360 degrees I'm involved. Like, the 5% mathematics was like our hip hop that we danced to in clubs. So,
That's true.
KRS One, Boogie Down Productions, Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane, Brand Nubians, even Tribe and people like that. Those were like conscious types, even though they weren't claiming that. But the musicality was so dope. It was like he created this thread that ran through us all, and we were kind of like all made out of that. So that produced like the Puffies, that produced
Uh-huh.
the Shais, because we came from the same room at Howard University, and a lot of other people in the vicinity, even like Drew Hill and people like that, had a brush with Howard through University Records with Hawk Islam. But I'm an amalgamation of, I guess, consciousness, music, um, an empathetic soul for my peeps, and I'm an educator at heart, even if I wasn't making money at it. I'm just something in me distills information, processes it, and wants to share it in a way where the final points are laid out. It's just something about something that it makes me like that. My parents probably.
That's what.
Um, I'm an artist. I'm a creative to the core, and I just love to blend those two and keep those two together. Instead of creating a binary for myself, I want all that to be me. So I'm
All right.
vigilantly me in all spaces. I'll say that.
Man, listen, y'all heard what the man said, right? Rewind this, because Dr. Bright is coming in heavy, folks. Listen, I want to break into some of that because you said a lot, and it all meant something that I want to touch on, and I wonder initially where you almost spoke about it, but where did that spirit, that fight, that activism, where did that come from at such an early age? Was it because you saw so many more covert instead of overt types of situations in your neighborhood, or was it something that sitting at the dinner table with the family, right, and Sunday afternoons listening to mom, listening to dad tell stories? Was it part of the way that the family unit was the way you were brought up, or was it just what you were seeing out there in the streets and saying there's got to be a better way? So
Yeah, it was
if
probably a
somebody's going to do it, let
combination
me
of
do it.
positionality wise. You got to think, I was born in 1969.
Yeah, me
So my
too, brother.
early
Yeah,
years of my life, from 1970 to 70s, I was 9, 8, and 7 years old, getting influenced by like heavy doses of Michael Jackson,
yeah,
Jackson 5, and
yeah,
Popcorn Machine, and Rodney Allen Ricky, and all this. But at the same time, I was living in Montgomery, Alabama, not too far removed from those 60s with the civil rights.
come on,
And
talk
so
on this.
the fervor, just that closely, not far, not no distant, closely put together, it's not far removed. The skin of that racist undertone or overtone was very much still the fabric of Montgomery, Alabama, despite some of the laws. And Martin Luther King had just got assassinated in '68, so the tenor, and then the Olympics, '68 Olympics with the Carlos and then with the fit,
Yeah,
like the anti-Vietnam thing, and then they never called me nigga with Muhammad Ali with his statements, and all of that kind of stuff. Like, it was consciousness in the air, it was black love in the air. The black arts movement was not too far from the '60s, so you still had those artists, Gil Scott and people like that
mm,
people still resonating to. And then those black people uniquely positioned in the South with that conscious stuff, and still with the fervor of the race thing real close, created a kind of consciousness by default for everybody. People who weren't even on that were living and situated in it. So, I was going outside playing football in the yard, and kids were calling me the N word all the time. And
mm-hmm,
my response was to fight. I fought everyone who
yeah,
said it.
yeah, yeah,
And so I started to develop that thing just because I was literally growing up, physically dealing with it, and then conceptually dealing with it on political levels. Like, I would be a smarter student than another guy that might have been a white guy, but they would push him a little. I was really seeing all of those things play out in my face. So my consciousness developed early on because I needed to understand why. Because I didn't
mm,
do nothing to nobody in my mind. And I would be at the bus stop, a 13-year-old, I'm like 7, call me a nigga, punch me in the mouth. I gotta go home. I get a baseball bat. I'm out here trying to beat up
Yeah.
this dude. Like I was really having situations.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I was playing football at the Capital City Boys Club in Montgomery in the projects there at Highlands Village. And for people from Montgomery and the Gulf who know about that, and that was shaping me. So those black people, black people,
Yeah.
in the hood. And, but at the time, that the mamas were still around, and it was still like this village raising. It was a
That's
beautiful
it, man.
thing.
See, that's where I wanted to go. There we go. Yes, sir. There
And it
we
was
go.
like I was getting all of that too. So that gave me even more love for my folks because I wasn't isolated, even though my parents didn't live in the hood like that. I spent every day after school in that hood for hours practicing, and those became my best friends. So my relation in terms of how it resonated was always those kinds of kids who were supposed to be the bad kids. And to this day, that's what I teach. I teach at an alternative school, high school, ALC in Houston, Texas. The kids with the ankle monitors and all that. Like that's because that's who I grew up with.
Hey.
That's who. If I hadn't grown up, I don't know how I would have been able to relate to the cats like that. I might have been scared of my own people or something. But because I played football,
Okay, see, we can go down that path too. Yeah.
Everybody was cool and loved each other. Like I wasn't scared of my people no more after that as a youngin. And that allowed me, that was my blessing that they did that, because that allowed me all through life, even though when people were pulling me away from my people to try to put me on some pedestal, I wasn't feeling that. I was always with mine. And, I really was about that. Like I really still am.
I love that.
That led me to join Black men folks. That led me to join the Nation of Islam and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That ethic in me was strong since I was a shorty. And hip hop kind of solidified it. Like, so,
what's real cool about that is that and you said it. I'm gonna summarize it further. Yeah, we heard on the radio. We heard and we love Michael. Come on, everybody love Michael Jackson. We love the Jazz at 5. We love everything that came out of Motown. But listen, everything out there in these streets was not skeety leedy dee. Right?
Not at all.
It was not like that. And when you out there living it and it's more overt instead of covert, and especially at such a young age. And again, I was born in '69 as well, so I've seen a lot of the same things that you did. My family was in the military, so we traveled all over the globe at an early age. So I got to see stuff here, there, Germany, Japan, and things of that nature. So I got to see and maybe appreciate what we have versus someone else, those kinds of things. But the fact that you kept that and you stayed grounded in that, and then as you grew, you maintained that, right? You maintained that. That's where I want to go. You maintained that, and then you went tons of schools across the planet, not just in the United States. You could have probably spun the globe and said, I wanted to go anywhere, but you said, let me go to an HBCU. Talk about going to Howard. Talk about the influence that had on you. And then you say you were in the same room at the same time with, it wasn't Puffy then. It was just Sean. It was just Sean.
No, it was Puffy then.
Okay. So, I mean, just those kinds of, he was born Puffy.
He was just Puff.
Okay.
Puffy.
Right. But talk about that though, man, being at that early stage with them type of cats right there. And then how that transpired into you and the guys getting together and forming the group.
Yeah, Howard, when I was in 11th grade, my spring break happened to line up with one of my dad's conventions. He worked for the National Education Association, whose headquarters happened to be in Washington, D.C. So he was like, hey, man, you want to come to D.C. with me for your spring break? I was like, is that a trick question? Yo, let's go. And so he brought me to D.C. And so while he was in this meeting, he dropped me off at Howard at 11:30 a.m. on a Friday. Spring. So I'm sitting on the steps at the Fine Arts Building, just looking around at the prestige. You could feel it coming, emanating, oozing out of the buildings. Douglas Hall over there. You see the morning spin going straight ahead with the clock on it. And I'm chilling, just taking it in, looking at it. And all of a sudden the bell, doom, 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 doom. The noon bell rings and every door on campus just bursts open at one time. And all these just energetic, just fly young Black people from all just grades of Black, all melanated, just came out, just beautiful, just a massive just beauty and just youth and bubbliness and just fervor that I just wanted to be in. I was like, yo, I'm coming here. And so when I told my pops I'm coming to Howard, he was digging it, but at the same time, like I had a couple of little basketball offers in a couple of schools that might have paid my tuition. He made a little bit too much,
because
but
parents is
if
talking
I
about that
knew
money
the
part. Okay.
so he was like, all right, Howard was the only school I applied to. If I
Okay.
hadn't got in, I just wouldn't have been in school that semester.
Wow.
But they accepted me. I did pretty cool on my SATs at the time, just good enough because I'm not a good test taker like that.
Mm.
Um, but I did just good enough. I made like 1,020 or something like that
Mm-hmm.
at that time, with old standards, which was cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't no 1,300 or nothing like that, but it was 1,020 something like that.
Yeah.
And I got in, and I was 17. I was in there. I was in this pre-professional pre-med program where people who are about to be pre-med majors get to acclimate to the campus in the summer before the school starts and take some of those courses. And I realized I didn't have the aptitude to be in a chemistry major and all that. My dad wanted me to do that. I wanted to be the first Stuart Scott before Stuart Scott. I knew I wanted to be like a hip hop sports anchor.
Yeah.
That was still legitimate in terms of journalism. I wanted to really, but my dad was that. He didn't want me to go into it, so I worked on Capitol Hill for the Senate Judiciary Committee while I was at Howard, so the political side, and I was around the Congressional Black Caucus and stuff. But then on the other side, at Howard, I was in the pre-med program thing. My dad pushed me. So after a while, when that wasn't working out, I changed my major to political science. And I could be more creative in my papers, and my grades started going really, going up because I was more confident and I was able to articulate my words in a way that was not formulaic like science and the math was. That's not my bag. But it took me to finally stand up and be like, yo, Pop, this is not, what I want to do. So I changed my major, and I was doing my thing. Darnell went on to go be an Alpha Phi Alpha member, he pledged, and then we linked back up, and there was this talent show that the Alphas, were practicing for, was 5 of them. I had a temp job. My dad had claimed me on his taxes, and they revoked my financial aid. I was married at the time. I still had my housing, but I couldn't be in school, so I was
They're
just
not
hanging
looking
out
for
with
you,
them.
man. You're not dropping some information that the IRS is looking for you right now. Don't be saying nothing. It's still April. Okay.
I jumped in the fine arts building with Darnell. We reconvened with friends, again, just kicking it. But he had pledged Alpha, so all those Alpha brothers were practicing for this dope show. Eric Roberson was one of the sound rooms down there practicing. You had Chris Davis, dope drummer that's out there, one of the best that ever did it. Gordon.
Yeah.
All of these dope dudes were in the little sound rooms down in fine arts practicing. And I was just chilling with Darnell. Right before the show, 2 of those members that were in the group had kind of quit. They didn't want to go because this talent show was like a Apollo. People were gonna boo real heavy. It was intense. So D was like, "Yo, G, come on, man. We went from 5 to 3 part harmony. We need that 4th. I know you've been in here for like 3 months with us. Yeah, I know you know the parts." I was like, "Well, yo, I do know the bass. You know what I mean? I'll give that a try." And I jumped in, and we were on stage doing all these Boys to Men songs. Please don't go away.
Yeah.
And after we ran out of that songs, they gave us an encore. They had booed everybody else. I don't know why
Wow.
we didn't get booed, but they wanted an encore from us, and we were like, "What are we gonna sing?" Like, we sung all the stuff from the dad already, and we ended up singing "If I Ever," just with the finger snaps, a cappella. And look, that hard crowd, which was full of like football players and like New York dudes, at about the second chorus, they started singing "If I Ever's" chorus like they knew the song. That's how catchy I guess it was. And when the curtains closed, we stood right on that stage and looked at each other in disbelief at the response, and literally said, "Hey, man, I want to get a record deal right there." And we
Right
all
there.
agreed to it. This new iteration, because I wasn't supposed to really be in that group, but I was in it that night, and we just kept it like that. We went to New York, Avenues of Americas, got dissed by all the record labels, auditioning. They were smoking cigarettes on the phone while we were singing "If I Ever."
Yeah.
And we finally got back to DC. We had made a little acapella demo of the acapella and gave it to WPGC radio station, and they rocked it. And the DC crowd loved it, blew up the phones, and because they were a P1 station, which was a major station, it got added to all their sister stations, which made us look good in the eyes of the record labels finally. And that's when MCA finally saw us and was like, "Hey, they kind of did half the work for us already. Let's sign these dudes." And it was contingent upon us making the music version because they weren't too sure about the acapella fitting all the formats. They loved it, but they
Gotcha.
didn't know how some program directors would respond to an original acapella. Because Boys to Men had the Coolie High harmony, but that was DC Cameron already from the movie Coolie High. People knew that song, but we was just some college kids that wrote our own song, and they wanted us to make a music version to see if it was. And we did the music version. They loved it, and that's a big
Bruh.
album deal instead of a single deal. And then the rest
Bruh.
was kind of
And then that one just turned into. I'm gonna keep
like,
dropping.
yeah.
I'm gonna keep dropping it as many times as like,
You
because
crazy,
y'all
man.
did so many versions of it, right? The remix, listen, man. So that is really cool to hear that's how it's talent show. You weren't even supposed
Yeah.
to be there.
And that was the
You
only show we ever performed at Shai before we got a deal.
really,
We didn't do all these shows and
yeah.
all that. Like we did one little thing at this place called Mr. Henry's, or let me correct, it was one other, but it was just kind of like a lounge and nobody was really there. But this was a show, like a show. And it was big. There was some talented artists there.
I heard
We
that, man.
do
So
our thing, man.
all right. I
Be
mean,
blessed.
so that was the one, right? And that album, I know y'all released a ton of a handful of other albums, and I know I still got the CD somewhere. I mean, those were back when I actually had to pay for the CDs. Right? We weren't stealing Shy songs. All right, we actually had them with the Maxell metal tapes, right? We
Oh
had
my
those.
God, Max cassette.
Listen, we had those, but let's talk about music then. Let's talk about music now, right? Because again, when y'all was coming up and when you did that hustle, that grind, getting in the car, driving back and forth, trying to get someone to hear,
Yeah,
appreciate you, y'all really can sing, right? That
thank you.
whole thing, right? Before there was all this other electrical equipment, things like that. What's your
Right.
take on some of the cats out there today? Or since you came out in the early 90s, 91, 92, right? And the longevity that your group has still had, because you're still performing. It's
No doubt.
no past tense, right? It's present tense for Shy,
No doubt.
which a lot of groups can't say. So let's
Well,
talk
we
about this.
definitely
Why,
were.
why the longevity of Shy? And what have you seen in the difference in the way music, especially on the R&B side, is actually created, curated, produced, and published versus how it was when you guys came out?
Yeah, well, I always say like I'm gonna give it a couple of dimensions because I know a lot of us old heads look at the younger audience and tend to like compare that, and it comes up wanting in that kind of paradigm. But
Mm,
if you look at the broader context of what the world is on right now and the messages that are being pushed in a broader scope in all media and how people are being portrayed and who they're selling to, and the pictures they're painting and stuff like that. The music doesn't just come in a vacuum. So it's kind of pulling from all these elements too, and processing them and distilling them and encoding them with their own thing. So it's not just in a vacuum. So I'm gonna speak to that, but just going back in the day to where we were when we came out. Um, before hip hop, there was no youth culture yet, and so we basically tended just to listen to the favorite people of who our parents were listening to. Certain people stood out to us. Some people didn't. That was just our parents' stuff. But some of those mute artists stood out to us. And then we grew to. Then when Sugar Hill Gang got on the radio, the Hibbit, and all that started happening. The youth had an exclusive go-to in terms of their cultural production. That started creating a lane in terms of like expression that wouldn't be kind of like tolerated by an older crowd, even on the face of it, as soon as it comes into existence. And so, but with the youth
mm,
culture already out there, a lot of the youth type of ideas started being able to find a pocket, gain traction, and resonate in a way that the adults probably, if it was up to them as gatekeepers, wouldn't let happen. So I just and so our music, even when we were doing the harmony R&B stuff, there was still some old heads that were like, yeah, but they ain't like the Temptations, you
yeah.
know.
Always
There
somebody
was
hating,
people
man,
out
for
there like,
no reason.
it
Just
don't
hating
sound
for no
like,
reason.
rough and nah, but it was a different phenomenon. They totally don't sound like that. They'll
Yeah.
tell you. But they had a thing too. And now New Edition is like a paramore, of the new groups that came in because they was with the old heads. They was young out with the old heads
Yeah.
in the 80s. And so, even though they're like our age a little bit, Ronnie and all that, they came out in the hardcore times of artistry,
Mm-hmm.
and they looked at now as those G's in music as compared to them, but the Shot kind of birthed from like the New Edition phenomenon, the new boy bands, especially the black music, type those melodies, Marvin Starr putting that together and creating like a throwback because all of the New Edition melodies was like the Jackson 5 melodies. If you think about
Right.
it, Candy
Right.
Girl, they was really playing on Ralph to be that Michael Jackson voice,
Yeah.
even though they never would try to say that Ralph was as dope as Mike. It's not intended for that. But some of the old heads will hear those melodies and hear this guy and be like,
Yeah.
man, he ain't Mike. But that wasn't the point. They missing the point.
Mm-hmm.
And that evolved. into, okay, it's cool to be in a group and be young. And that's when you start getting the Boys the Men's and the Jodeci's, or the Rude Boys and the Leverts and, even before us today with Big Bub and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. Okay. Now
Yeah,
we
come out.
flashing back. He done said today. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we was
Yeah.
listening, Force MDs and
Yes,
that kind
sir.
of thing.
True.
And we was like, yo, full force.
You
It
ain't
was
ready
like,
for this. See, these
cool.
young folks, they not
You
ready
still
for it.
sing. Okay. TJ Swan on Big Daddy Kane record, Bismarck E. And so finally, it was it wasn't like it was kind of a hip hop thing for groups at a time, and amalgam of hip hop and those classic throwback Temptation stuff that we heard our parents listening to. That's the paradigm we were kind of in. So it was a unique little cachet that we fell into. So it was going to be quality because the template we were biting was the template of what we saw our parents moving to, the stuff that we liked out of it.
Yeah.
But then coming into this hip hop age, so some of our cadences, some of our melodies, were a little more rugged because we done heard TJ Swan with "Nobody Beats the Band," all that. Like, okay, you can do the Force MDs. They was a Force MCs first, and then they was singing
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah, we knew that.
Babyface,
I knew that.
well,
Yeah.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis wrote that "Tender Love," and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis,
Man,
and so
geniuses
for
in
them
the room.
kill that is a classic. That allowed you as a singer from the hood to be like, yo, I could do that too. Look at them dudes from Force MDs. They straight
Yeah.
hood looking dudes.
Yeah.
They can just and so if you had
Big
talent,
bodybuilding fellas. Yeah, yeah.
it was cool. And so that allowed you to hone your skills. Even though they snatched the music programs out of schools, people were able to look at those guys, look at Beat Street, look at oh, you can eat what's the other movie? Not Breaking, but the one with the Fat Boys and everybody, Curtis Blow in it.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
Full Force was in it too. But that gave you you could see how you could position yourself, what you could be made of, what you could do. I could be one of that. And so I think people like, the Silks of the world and, the Jodeci's, who Puffy helped fashion into a hip hop R&B, Mary J. Blige, all that hip hop soul influence. And then you had these harmonies coming out, with Intro and Shai and the Silks and, those kinds of like, Portrait and something's going on, UNV, like all them type of groups was out at that time.
Take us to church, boy. Go ahead.
We were really feeling ourselves in terms of harmonies because it was a thing. People were we heard Jodeci, blew our minds and heard that they were listening to Commission. And so we kind of like started listening to Commission a little more and getting some harmonic ideas. So we was creating amalgams all over the place. And it was cool to have harmony right then. That was like a thing that you can mark somebody's talent by. So we definitely want to push that. So all those groups, Boys to Men, how could I even leave them out?
Yeah.
So but that harmony thing was like how we battled, how we kind of like, and then the groups that came after us a little bit, like the 112s and the Drew Hills and the Next, they still had that harmony, but they had even more catchy melodies and better cadences, more relative to the streets, because Puffy and them
That's what I was gonna say. That because again, thinking about Cisco and all them, and the Drew Hills and all that, when they came out, they had a whole different vibe. Your vibe was very cool, very calm, very
music kind of growing into another.
Yeah.
Because the Puffy thing got to it, and Puffy was a genius at understanding what was hot right now, what was on the post commercially, and mixed that in with some real talent like 112 and Jagged Edge and all those guys. We perform it to this day. And you started seeing the music change more towards a hip hop orientation, but still have the soulful elements of the singing and the raw harmonies. But then once you start leaving the phase of you know what I'm saying, you know what I mean, and start going into you feel me. See, the street colloquialism, but you know what I'm saying, was intellectualized. It was like, do you understand me? You understand? You feel what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? But then it shifted. You don't need to know what I'm saying. Yo, just do you feel me? And so you start seeing breakdancing depart from breaking and technical moves on your body and articulation. We can see each piece to crunk dancing, where it was just an emotional move, like right along with the "you feel me" movement. And with the "you feel me" movement, the consciousness of the youth was feeling like all the words just getting in the way. I need people to just see my soul, see my core. I don't need to say too much, man. That's the paradigm. So they were inside of a new paradigm. They had a new paradigm inside of the old paradigm. And you could even see it in texting. Like the English teacher paradigm of looking at that was like, oh, they messing up the English language. Look at all the abbreviations. They killing it. But they wasn't taking into consideration that the paradigm those cats was on was effective communication with few words because they had to pay for the characters. So how can I condense this? And so you start seeing these kind of transitions that were overlapping, but you saw little meta ones coming out of it. And I started understanding where they was going with it, even though it wasn't what my cup of tea was, because we were
Yeah.
coming from something else, but I saw why it was doing that. And so the You Feel Me movement turned into mumble rap. Well, yo, just feel my cadence. Yo, I'm riding this beat, but you know what I'm about just by the way I just drip it out. I don't even got to say too much. And but the old heads like a Talib Kweli or people that got
Oof.
crazy verbal skills is looking at that like lazy rap. Like, bro, say something. But what we was not understanding was saying something was more than you know what I'm saying. You Feel Me was taking over. So it was reflected in the music. And the other paradigm at the same time it was happening in was looking at that through their paradigmatic lens. But it's a new thing coming in. And what it actually is getting to is trimming so much fat going to a real. So, but the youngins haven't intellectualized the You Feel Me movement yet. So they really wilding on the You Feel Me-ness. But I think it's going to catch up and recalibrate. And when it finally does, that raw fearlessness of the You Feel Me movement
Yeah.
with that dope thing like Jake, what's my man Jermaine, J.
Dupree?
Cole type
Oh,
of
J. Cole?
mindset
Yeah, yeah.
rapping with the You Feel Me movement, like that's gonna be a unstoppable force. So I feel like
Wow.
it's happening. But I'm
Wow.
not gonna judge it too harsh right now. You got the auto tune because your boy was killing it so much. T-Pain, who
T-Pain,
can
yeah.
really sing his butt
But
off.
hey, folks don't know T-Pain, he don't need that auto
Yeah,
tune.
see,
He just
man,
use it
so
for as an
he
instrument. He don't need. He like
I hope
Roger,
he get his
right? He
credit.
like
Because with his pen, he already dope. If he never sang a word, his pen is
True.
crazy.
Yes.
But the boy can sing. But
Yeah.
he was just having fun with a little auto tune, because in a la Roger and Zap.
Yeah.
And that summer, he was killing it so much. Jamie Foxx jumped on him. And
Yeah.
other people thought that, yo, I can do that. And it kind of got oversaturated.
I don't have to
The
be
same way
100%
with like
perfect.
Timbaland's drums. Timbaland came out with that Missy, ooh, and them tripled up drums was kind of starting to be the new cadence. Even in the rap now, if you listen, the tripled up feel of those Timbaland drums is now the cadence that the rappers use to actually vocalize. They rap. You know, it ain't like
Come on.
it ain't the rhyme scheme like the lyricists back in our days was putting like the Black Thoughts, the Talib Kweli's, like the most deaths, like even the Reds and the Mess for all intents and the Woo and stuff. It's a different cadence. The Andre 2000, it's a different cadence now, and it's tripled up and it's coming like starting on the one and it's stopping, starting on it's real herky jerky. So people are wondering like the rhyme pattern is not complex, but some of the ideas are. If you listen to like a Little Baby or something like that, with that he got that effect on his voice too. But he could put his words. I see the artistry, and then the staples like I like Miguel. I
Yeah.
think he's dope. His songs. It's a few cats out here that I like. Some of these Jeremiah, even though live he kind of was on one that night when they did that
don't
battle.
let Jeremiah.
The
You
song
better get
Girl
everything on his rider the right way
About
because
You and I, and that melody was dope. That was a dope song. That was a throwback song. You know what I'm saying? It was a young dude singing it. And
yeah.
he actually put If I Ever in that song too. But I think I'm not gonna be so harsh in judging them now because it's coming from a place. And now that the internet is here and the social media is here, and it's a direct thing from the person to the audience. You ain't got to go through the filters that label used to put you through to get a SoundCloud and just make songs. So people are not being vetted for talent in certain ways. But what they are doing is becoming marketing geniuses, and
Truth.
they're also figuring out how to cut corners with the technology to make a product that at least sounds good,
Yeah.
got a strong melody for a hook, even if it ain't saying the kind of stuff we wanted to say, and it's catchy in certain ways enough for the people to be repeated. Even if you don't like it, you be singing some of them hooks. Like, man, why am I singing that? Because there's certain thing, it's a thing behind it, but it's just going to another. It looks like it's going,
Yeah. And what I'm hearing, and I'm gonna get these comments up too. A couple of folks that want to interject with you, man. What I'm hearing is respect from you for
I got respect
for
for
each right for each phase, right? Each phase you're seeing.
I recognize that's what it is.
You know what I'm saying? You're seeing more of the positive and you're seeing the artistry in it, right? Because you'll get a lot of other folks that'll sit around Monday morning quarterback and say, you mentioned about the mumble rap, right? I even said it, man, what they talking about? But again, I'm third person removed, not necessarily in the game like you, and don't hear or don't dive down and articulate down to the extent that you just did. So right now, we just had a masterclass. Ladies and gentlemen, shouts out to Garfield Bright coming through. We gonna charge for this.
For myself as a music lover, like what was happening in the mindset and stuff. And before I attacked it, I wanted to really look at it. And I was like, oh, I see a corollary between what you do on your body and crump dancing the slang of you feel me, and people don't feel like they gotta waste that emotion with a whole bunch of intricate words, and you just feel me, yo. So they can
Mm-hmm.
just, I can give you the, because truthfully, when people write rhymes, when they first hear a track, they go through a, they do that first to get the cadences that they like, and then they'll put words in that. So the mumble rap, I feel like they just stayed at the cadence phase and just like, yo, just feel the energy, bro.
That's dope.
I don't need
That's
these
dope.
words. And I think that's what they was kind of,
That's what's up.
you know,
That's what's up. I mean, and you got a lot of cats in here, and I know our mutual friend Clifton Roberts is listening. He better chime into these comments. I know he right now is just vibing. When you went down that whole little dissertation just now from A to Z. Listen, man, I know I know he grinning from ear to ear right now. Just about that piece right there. I don't want to bring up anything negative, but I'm just wondering, was there any back in the day, was there any ill vibes, or was there any of that crab in the barrel kind of thing? Like we see a lot of it now, and I think maybe just because everyone's got these cameras in their pocket. But when there's someone like a Shai and a Jodeci and a Boys to Men and a Jagged Edge, right? When we got all these dope groups at one time just putting out cuts that everybody's vibing to, that we on the outside, the consumer, are buying and listening to inside the studio,
right.
inside the record label, right? Was there any of that, don't walk around me, you know what I'm saying? Was there any, was the competition hopefully was positive, competitive feeling, right? As opposed to we better than
Yeah,
you, we got
for
more
my
plaques than
school,
you, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering.
when we first came out, like we came out and immediately got put on the Budweiser Superfest, like immediately. And it was
Yeah.
Shy, Jade, SWV, Silk, and some nights it would be Naughty by Nature that would close, or some nights it would be BBD, and some nights it would be LL Cool J that would close. But the J, H Town, Shy, Silk, SWV, we were tight. Like our bus would break down on tour, the SWV bus would be right behind, the H Town bus would be right behind. They'll pick us up
Love
to our
that,
bus
man.
get fixed and stuff.
Man, to
Like
be a
we
fly on that
really,
wall, God,
you
dog.
know, for some reason we had a healthy respect for each other. We definitely was competing against each other every night, type of thing, you know, just naturally.
Yeah.
But we was all loving each other, because everybody was a one of one on that tour. Like SWV didn't sound like Jay, H Town didn't sound like Silk, Shy didn't sound like Silk, Silk didn't sound like Shy.
That's
And
true.
everybody had a special couple of people in the group that made it pop, where they had their own thing. And we all sat there on the side of the stage and watched each other perform damn near every night in amazement. Like, yo, they killed it. You know, it
Man.
was a lot of love right there. And we had healthy respect for the cats who came right before us. Boys and Men and Jodeci came right before we came out. They had like they were kind of the first ones of that new era to kind of
Yeah.
jump in there and solidify who they were. And Shy, before we became Shy, we were singing Jodeci and Boys and Men songs in the mirror. Like
I
truth be
heard
told.
that out
And
there on
like
the
I
corner.
heard it was some kind of little stuff that Devontae had said about Shy and stuff like that. But that never came to no head or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, 30 years later, man, I ain't tripping on that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm a fan of theirs, to be honest, because me and KC got real cool, and it's the Dab. We was cool enough to be cool
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I got a lot of respect for them dudes. I even
Love
got a
it.
lot of respect for Devontae, man. He a Libra like me. The dude can produce his butt off. You know what I'm saying? I'm rooting for them. They got a dope tour out right now. It's Jodeci, SWV, and Drew Hill. That should be incredible. You
Man,
know what
that will be
I
hot. I
mean?
went to the new edition. Me and my wife went to that, and listen, I was doing well. I'm not gonna bust no moves out here because
Man, listen,
53. I
Coco
might
used
throw
to
a hip,
sound
but
exactly the same every single night, note for
yes,
note.
sir.
And we used to be like, yo, is that a machine doing that? Like, straight up. Do they got something back there? Like, yo, she was bananas. So, but nah, those, I had a healthy respect for everybody, like, in the industry as artists. It was some heavy hitters during our time. And even though we were young and all that, it was some just nasty talent out there,
Yeah,
bro. Like Kenny from
raw talent.
Info, Casey and JoJo from Jodeci on there, and then Devontae on the production like that. Um, Boys the Men, all of them. And then Babyface and Brian McKnight was writing stuff for
Man,
them. It was just,
mix all that in the pot, man. What can you do? And this right here sums it all up. What Cliff just said. I said it once before. Garfield Bright and his bandmates, part of my life's timeline. An R&B
man, that
hero
is
for
so
sure.
crazy to hear,
So
man.
great to see the chemistry in this discussion, brother. Listen, I'm on cloud, not even 9, man. I done already passed that. Hey, Cliff, I don't know if you was here, but I'm gonna throw it again. I'm gonna keep doing it. Listen, I know I got a copyright strike by now, but that's
You
all right.
wild with that, bro.
That's all right. Listen. Let me ask you about another aspect of your life, man. So we talked about the music, talked about the history, and I'm glad you went into that detail for folks who were curious and just wanted to know, and that timeline, right, of where
Mhm.
a lot of those groups fit in. Um, then you went to school, got a couple of pieces of paper. Right, listen, and got them signed like my mom would say. Yeah, you can go to school. Make sure you get signed though. Make sure. Let me look at that diploma. Let me make sure someone signed that thing. So
For
let's
sure.
talk about Dr. Garfield Bright and why you felt the need to continue that education. And I kind of again talked about it in the opening about your dissertation and the reasoning behind that dissertation, if you don't mind, man.
Yeah. Well, the PhD part actually came like I never imagined myself as a PhD guy. I loved education though, and I did want to get my master's. And so when I was at Cal State Northridge, when I had gone back to school, once I moved to Los Angeles, I decided to go back to school because I didn't finish it hour when we got our record deal. I only had a few credits. But by that time, it had increased to 33 units. So I enrolled in California State University at Northridge and to finish out my stuff. While I was there, I ran into a group of real conscious younger people and Dr. Karen Stanford, who was a professor and the head of Africana Studies there. And she had this journal. Well, she had a class called The Politics of Hip Hop. And it was a political science class, but it used the power dynamics in hip hop to inform the parallel power dynamics in politics. And that was just dope to me. And so within that class, instead of writing rhymes, we were writing research papers based on the hip hop landscape. And it got to be so dope that conferences were asking us to come to present our work because it was real research. And on that piece is how I got to Georgia State. I presented a paper that I had written under the auspices of the Hip Hop Think Tank, which was the crew that we were. We had a journal, and I did one of my articles in that journal. And Dr. Moja and people like that at Georgia State was like, "Hey, bro, we kind of like dig you as a scholar. Would you like to come to the program?" type thing. And I was like, "Yo, I would love to." So I ended up getting a fellowship there, and I enrolled in the master's program in African American Studies at Georgia State. And I did my thesis on what is African centered education. It's called Toward a Common Center. And I did a observation and some interviews to try to see if I can get to the sweet spot. And I talk about my findings another time, but it was a cool thing. I won the Asa Hilliard Award for my thesis, and I had a 4.03 GPA. I was really in school,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I was done. But the African American Studies department only went as far as a master's degree, and they needed some of the students who got a master's to then try to go on and get a PhD to bolster, claims to get more money from the school to
Got you.
create a doctoral program. Like,
Yeah.
yo, we got what it takes. See our students doing it. Y'all need to make sure we got that. And so from there, that's the only reason why I decided to try to see if I can get into the PhD program. And I got in. It wasn't because of my GRE scores that was terrible, but my interview was dope because I actually had to defend myself in interview like I would probably have to do with my dissertation, and I acquitted myself well, and they put me in despite my low GRE scores because like I told you, I don't test well. But I ended up with a 4.03 GPA again in my doctoral
Wow.
program, and my dissertation won the award of excellence for the College of Arts and Sciences when I got it. And it was I did my thing as much as I could, and I looked at how black males deal with inequitable spaces in terms of power distribution, and I focused on schools, black males in school settings, and so I interviewed students, and I looked at black males in the entertainment industry having to deal with that skewed power dynamic,
Yeah.
with the contract being the focal point, how it comes from the label already to you. And that power dynamic already is in their favor, just like how capitalism exists because we have haves and have nots by rule. It was kind of like that in the music industry. So you went from being an artist immediately to being a product maker. And
Yeah.
that part of it, they control. You just the baby that's spitting it out. I mean, the
Pretty
mama that's
much.
spitting out stuff. And once you start coming to grips with that, you have to change the game a little bit. And there's a lot to it, but that's what I studied, which were two sides of my own self, really, that I was trying to zip up to explain. Because I was that
Wow.
student, but I was also the guy in the industry too. So I did a dissertation primarily about myself, vicariously kind of through other people, if you will, something crazy like that.
That
But
and was cool about that. So two things, right? Because you talk about the similarities of understanding the business for especially young black males within entertainment. You think about what's happening literally today with someone in the sports world, right? Lamar Jackson finally signing, getting that contract. You think about what's happening tonight with the NFL draft. And again, it's all that business. And you get up there, you get ranked, you get looked at, you get your dimensions measured, how fast you can throw, I mean, how fast you can run, how high you can jump. I mean, there's some mentality things that we can get into about that as well, right? Just the mindset of being up there on the block and saying, "Let me look at this
mm,
man, 6'3", 285." Right, right.
mm,
We can go into that conversation, but the fact that you did that and you didn't just write about it. That's also what you're kind of teaching today as well, right? That's what those values that you're instilling into the youth at that school that you're at right now,
it's
correct?
crazy because I'm
That's
at
pretty cool.
alternative, high school teaching English literature, English 1 and 2, ninth and 10th graders. And all the stuff about the school to prison pipeline that I had to research for my dissertation, all the positionality that the neoliberal agenda has for us, the privatization of urban spaces, which has an impact on the mind, um, pushing people out of their own spaces, minimizing their bandwidth in terms of what they have the latitude to do, and then programming that hard body
Mm, mm.
brains until they come in from fourth grade feeling like this school stuff, that ain't even for me. I'm just here because somebody made me go. But like a mentality of, kind of like an anti-intellectual piece, because we are in the age of you feel me. And so I battle that every day, making people see that that's cool because that's authentic. But there's still a lot of room left for intellectualism because at some point that's going to be the paradigm that you're going to end up creating once you go into yourself. So it's me there representing that old school, but just enough new school to see what they talk about, but know that they need some more intellectualism on that. And in my packaging and in my way of doing, I'm able to kind of like get them to feel me enough
Yeah.
to honor me enough to try that. And I think that is kind of like my value at this time.
Yeah.
That's why
Man,
God, I think,
listen, you have that
keep
gift.
my
Take
hair
advantage of
to
it
this day,
in a good way.
still
Yeah,
still got a glow
you
about me.
you
I think God did that just so I
you
can
can
stay in
still
front of
reach
you.
them, folks. You can still reach them youth, man. That's cool,
Yeah.
right? Again, and that I don't think you can necessarily teach, right? I mean, I think that's just innate to who Garfield Bright is. I think when you walk into the room, and again, I may be I'm third person looking in. When you walk into them classrooms, they do feel you. They feel that someone who has been through the bushes, been knocked down, gotten back up, and when you up there talking and giving your presentation to the students, they really are listening. It's actually sinking in because they understand and you've been there and you understand and you understand them and you can
Mm-hmm.
speak to in a language that they understand and they respect as well. That's the thing right there.
Yeah, they know
Man,
they know I
that's
love
tight.
them, and they
That's
know
real
I
tight.
feel them. They know that's the main thing. They can feel that I feel them,
Yeah,
and it ain't
yeah,
fake. And that allows me to. They let me in from there, and then we like this because first and foremost, this thing in front of them wasn't just trying to teach them a subject.
yeah.
This thing in front of them was like concentrating on them and asking, probing who they were and really authentically listening and really trying to like see where they were. And then offering just who I am in a share mode as opposed to authoritative mode. But it's clear I'm the authority because I'm an old dude in the room. So I ain't got to push that like that. And I ain't
Yeah.
got to create
You don't
them
have to force it. You don't have
diverse
to force
mode
it.
moments. I don't got to do none of that. I just got to have empathy and really listen and then just keep it a buck. And that's the formula that helps me win in class, you know.
Okay, so now the students get that. We need that too. Where the book, man? Where Lotus 33rd, where the book?
Yeah, Lotus is coming.
Where the book, man?
I
Because
need to
that's
go
in the
to
book,
Northridge as
right?
a tech person because what I'm trying to do is set up a website to sell it from.
Okay.
I don't want to go through Amazon and get ripped off, and I just want to sell it. I got an ebook and an audio book for $25, both for $25 together,
Okay.
cheap. And I just want to. I don't know the mechanism to have
Oh,
it
we
set
gonna
up where
talk.
people
Yeah,
can
we
buy
we gonna
it.
talk.
It just sends them the link, and I don't know how to do all that. And
Now
that's
you
the only
do.
thing holding me up because I have everything else done. It's
Okay.
done. It's
You got it.
nice.
You got it
My
written.
sons who are twins did the score for it, so it feels like a movie. it's just ready, but I just don't have the setup to get it to you guys. So that's been holding me back for like a couple of
Bruh,
years.
listen, we gonna talk because we
Okay,
gonna get you over the finish line on that piece right there because
that's
we
the only thing
need some
holding me back
Lotus
too, man. The
3013
only
in our
thing.
life right there. Okay. Uh bruh, talked about the old, talked about current from a music perspective. Let's get into your stuff. These new
Okay.
projects. Let's talk about, Love's a Vibe. Let's talk
Ah,
about what you see. Two different distinct sounds,
yeah.
right? Two different distinct messages. Talk a little bit about for the new folks out there on the street that and tell them about what the Garfield Bright experience. Talk about these new systems you got out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those two songs are like singles off of a project that in my best world, I was going to release during Black History Month because the tone of them are real, like kind of like activist and kind of more critique oriented of like America, especially the fast songs, the mids and the fast. The ballads are more like celebrating Black love. That's Black History Month stuff too. But what you see, like I have one of my favorite artists in the whole wide world is D'Angelo. Like that dude is dope to me. And then the other one is Gil Scott Heron. I always love Gil Scott Heron out of the Black Boys. I mean the Last Boys. And so Gil Scott and D'Angelo, what you see is kind of like what would they talk about if they did a song together? And I came up with a critique of where America is and how things are skewed, in my way. And I did a section that kind of sounds like a Gil Scott section, but the flow of it in a harmonic structure is kind of like a D'Angelo kind of thing. But it is a critique of America. What you see is what you get. America, your favorite melting pot, favors rich, vanilla cream, not chocolate. Land of free, home of brave. All they see is former slave. I got eyes, so I see you. Copy me. Nothing new, because we're not invisible after all. Tell me how many will have to fall trying to fly high before they can crawl, feeling like they got nothing at all, basically. So that's what you see, and then it goes into a hook. But those are the words, but I'm singing. But yeah, it's like that kind of a song, and it's a commentary and that kind of thing. And I have other things coming later that are gonna be more traditional, but this was saying something. I needed to say something. I had
Bro, you
something
just
to
said it just now. I was specifically quiet. I was purposely quiet because Garfield was just now preaching to him. Listen,
Well,
folks,
that was
I'm
the
gonna
lyrics in the
put
song that just
links.
came.
I'm
Phonetic
gonna put links
source.
in the description so y'all see where his stuff is out there on Apple Music. I didn't already download it, so I didn't paid for it. Now I'm gonna get your
Thanks,
music
man.
legitimately. I'm not just gonna come up and cop off of the Garfield Bright experience.
I do
But
appreciate the support for sure. But
yeah,
I just
man,
did it because
listen.
I finally needed to release some stuff. My wife was on the second one called Love the Vibe. She's she's a reluctant singer, but she can
Yeah,
sing. So I'll make her sing on my stuff sometimes. And I'm actually doing some solo stuff for her. But for that one, Love's a Vibe is exactly what it means. It's like I love Roy Ayers in that time period a lot. I feel like they don't get enough play when people go back to the old days. They don't come bring Roy Ayers up. And so Love's a Vibe, if you listen to the cadence and the style of it, it's more in that mode, maybe a little more 2.0, I guess.
hmm.
The track is like a Jay Dilla track, if y'all know Dilla. And that's one of my like Soulquarian type. That's one of my favorite producers of all time. Rest in peace, he died of lupus. But he was one of the dopest that ever did it with the time signature. I like to lay behind the beat in a lot of my songs, like right behind, right almost to the next beat, just to have you hanging on. A la D'Angelo, Music Soul Child, Dwayne. Those are like some of my people who I love. So that's the style. It's like hip hop soul, but not in the Mary J kind of hip hop soul. That's more like a different type, but it's still mine is a more hip hop soul, like a marriage between like the Tribe Called Quest, the Jay Dillas, and like Roy Ayers soul wise, as opposed to like an Aretha Franklin soul wise. So it's a
Okay.
vibe. Love the
Okay.
vibe.
Listen, man, we get into such a good conversation. I got another man that just popped in who is also in the music industry, and he knows a thing or two or three about that. Listen, I think what it is when you went through that chronological. I can't. Don't make me come here and say no big words. When you went through the timeline.
Yeah, you silly man.
Keith Felder said, let me jump in. But hold on. So if you don't mind, I know we were supposed to rap, and I know I'm supposed to jump on the stream with him talk about some other things. But I would love to just have this is a once in a lifetime thing to have just this dialogue, to have y'all come in and chop it up as well, talk about
Hey, I'm
music,
here, man.
because the fact that you went through all of that, I mean, that's a blessing, and I really don't want to let this opportunity go. So, hey, KP, you good? You on mute. He got all these like you, man. See, y'all that in the professional studio should know he got all these microphones too, right? And he don't know to push the button. Push the button. What's up? You with us, KP?
Wait, you can't hear me?
We hear you, we see you, everything.
Oh,
brother.
my bad. I ain't know. I ain't know if I was jacking up again, man. I had these sessions earlier, man. I'm just sitting there like I don't know if my stuff is on right.
No
man.
worries, no worries. Keith Pelzer, this is Mr. Garfield Bright. This is
Dude,
the man from.
I'm on with the man.
You know about.
He don't know nothing about me. I know a lot about him. He don't know nothing about me. Well, he's the guy that girls be looking at on the stage. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, man. Go ahead and I tell you what, I'm gonna bring some of these comments up. Y'all do a little introduction. I see Mr. Moderator in charge, Kevin Cox, has actually put the links to all of your stuff on Apple Music already, so that's already taken care of. Listen, we gonna sell some singles. We gonna sell some singles, brother. Yeah,
because I'm the most non-promoting dude.
We got you, brother. We got you, man. KP, tell them some of the. I don't know if you heard some of the early stories that the Garfield was saying, right? At Howard, part of that whole. Well, you know, Shai. Again, you know.
Yeah, man. Listen.
Tell them who you are.
I ain't nobody, man. I'm just a preacher kid from Philly, man. Work with a touch of jazz. So I heard you mention Music Soul Child. So I'll cut across the field. I did 143 with Music Soul Child, Carvin Hagens. I did Selena Johnson actually just shouted me out. I did Slowly. Yeah, Selena Johnson. I did Slowly with her, them nasty songs, being a church kid. I'm just playing church chords. She sang all the nasty stuff to my joints. Like, oh, I like this. I want to sing about Lay Me Down and do this. I was like, dog, come on. Then He Loves Me with Jill Scott. You Love Me, it's special.
I know that one, bro. Please.
Yeah, that's my joint. And they say I'm crazy because you got me open, baby. Ooh, yeah, see, you know, that's it, man. That's some flowetry stuff. The single, I didn't do Say Yes. Everybody always asks me that. I would have played something like that, but that's Andre Harris did Say Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did.
You got some beautiful songs, man. Just a few you just named. Those are killers right there, bro.
Well, see, you a star, so you kind of get my vibe. So, like, I'm the guy that's going to play the ballad stuff.
It ain't got nothing to do with that. That's golden. That's right there, bro. Woohoo!
Oh man, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Likewise.
I'm just as geeked as I was when my partner I used to work with, Darren Henson, he met Teddy Riley at a club and put Teddy on the phone, and I was at the studio mixing something. He was like, yo, somebody want to talk to you. And it was like, Keith Pelzer. And I'm like, all right, who playing? And it was like, it's Teddy. I was like, say yup, yup. I made him say yup. I made that dude say yup, yup. He was like, are you kidding me? He was like, yup, yup.
Silly, man.
Dude, when I say I was geeked out of my mind, I was like, it's freaking Teddy Riley.
Teddy a bad boy. Always been.
Yeah. I just love industry people, man. So it's a pleasure to meet you, bro. It's a pleasure to meet you,
man. It's a pleasure to meet you, man. Super talented dude you are, bro. And like, man, you just named some of my favorite songs I ever heard. Seriously.
Oh, man, thank you.
Album, that was one of the albums that took you to another place when you heard it. It was it crossed some kind of dimensional barrier or something, bro. Some real stuff, especially the ones you named, your joints. You got ethereal, like some kind of ethereal. Man, you got something special, man. I don't have to work for it, but I would love to hear more of it. I'll tell you that much.
On my IG, I put up on there, like when Selena Johnson, she bought we were on chapter 3, The Flesh, chapter 3. And it's crazy because Slowly is kind of like a nasty song. It's like slowly he laid me down, pull my panties down, you know, all that stuff, right? And you kind of like, whoa, but there's some of the dopest chords. You ever sing something and look at yourself like, I sang that?
Like nasty, like
yeah. you listen to the riff like, that's me. That's my riff. And so I had to sit down and play the bridge. I had to play the bridge over. Like I sat down and was like, and then I did it, and I was like, I did play that. Like I forgot some of this stuff, man. You know how it is when you're in the zone and you doing all this stuff.
Dude, I know that. You put music together lovely, bro. That Philly stuff, man. You said Touch of Jazz, it was over for me.
Oh yeah, man. Listen. You know what was crazy about Touch of Jazz? You knew we was doing something when Puffy comes down there. LA and Babyface showed up. Jam and Lewis came through. Like it was. I'm like, this like a hole in Philly, and it's like, yeah, we got Jazzy Jeff.
Y'all sound, bro. Come on, man. And now, where did that go? I need more music soul child to this day. Like I'm like, what music? Where you at, bro? Like that stuff. Like my favorite album for music soul child was the Soul Star album. That captured my whole imagination. Like that just did it. I like all his stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love music soul child as an artist. Period. But that album, that first song with that girl singing.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to let your light shine on the world. Whatever she did, them little riffs she was doing, it was like,
yeah.
God damn. And then it goes into the
yep.
All that, like, oh yeah, too much for us. Overload. I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know
so
who did all that, but
let me ask you, where are you at? Where you at? You in
Houston, Sugarland?
You in Houston? Let me tell you, man, it's all right. So I don't know how I know you from being out there, right? I know you as the celebrity, the singer, right? Hear your music, but let's think about the road to get there, right? Everything that people know about you, I don't care how much stuff you've done, it's like a certain couple things that you just can't get away from. You're not gonna get away from. And everybody gonna just throw that on you, right? But the thing is, where were you at when you did that? And it's not that you gotta recreate it per se, but you gotta find the vibe of that and place it now. And once you get that, that's going to be the golden ticket for everybody, man. I think it's like a renaissance about to come up. And that's the catalyst to it. It's really finding that spot. Because people kept trying to ask us, we all kind of went our separate ways from a Touch of Jazz. Jazzy Jeff is back to doing his DJ thing. Everybody went through something legal and stuff like that. So nobody's really there. And you're never going to get those guys in the room. Jill tried to do it. It just seemed like it's not happening.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, when people try to recreate it, they keep leaving out the essence of you got to be able to be homies. You got to hang. Like if I'm in Texas, if I was down Texas and rolling, me and you working, right?
Okay.
Because it's not just doing tracks. No, listen what I'm gonna say. It's not just sending a track.
What he talking at me?
You feel me, bro? It's not just sending a track, right? It's kind of like, are you married? You married?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, you married. So it's like, I'm going to come down there with my wife. My wife and your wife hang out, or, they figure like, okay, girl, you go here to go shop and do that, eat over there. But the vibe is like, you got to pull the grill out. You got to talk over whether you drink beer, whether you just eat ribs, whether you eat pork, whatever. You got a vibe.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
I feel that.
You got to go shoot pool. You got to go bowling because it's at the bowling alley that you start singing something just because you threw a strike. And it's like, Garfield, what you do right there? What's that you do? We got to record that.
Inspired. You right. See, that's the formula, bro. You said that.
That contrived stuff don't work. About that. Yeah, the contrived stuff don't work. And what Jill knows, so if you love He Loves Me, guess how that song came about? I left church on a Sunday. I was a church musician. Leave church on a Sunday. The studio vibe. Cat smoke weed, whatever. So it's Sunday. I'm like, I ain't doing that, right? So I like the incense to make the room smoky to feel the vibe. Light the candles and stuff. And I'm sitting in there remembering the chords that I was playing when my dad was talking, the late Reverend Pelzer, right? I'm playing chords. So studio, you just sequence it. So I made 8 bars out of bloom, bloom, doom, boom, doom, ding. Jill walks in the room, says, can I write to that? To this? Yeah, that right there. Just play it again. I played it. All right. Loop it for me. I'll be right back. Cool. And I just go. And then after she started singing it, I put that.
Oh, wow. That's how that got built?
Song done in one day. One day.
Craziness. That's the magic, though.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
magic.
Inspired.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good stuff, man. I'm glad you said it to me. I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, it's because it never leaves you. Like, long as the blood, as grandma would say, long as the blood running warm in your veins, right?
Yep.
You got a story to tell. Music Soul Child, this song, I didn't write it, but girl, I know this might seem strange, but let me know if I'm out of order for stepping
that's my jam right there. But listen,
this way, right? If you listen to it, it's a conversation. More than a song. It's hollering at a joint, as we say in Philly. Joint is in the dictionary. It's hollering at a joint. It's really saying
no bars too. I'm trying to pressure you.
Right. Just can't stop thinking about it.
That's the line right there. When he said that immediately was like, look, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I just want to know your name. I mean, hey,
James, you a baller. Look who you.
Man, listen, I'm just blessed. This woo.
You got a legend on the screen. Golly, man.
I've been over here practicing my shot. So I've been singing, "Come with me." I know everybody want to sing, if I ever, but I've been. My song was, "Come with me." That was my.
Man, just what he's saying. That was like that was like inspired kind of stuff coming from my second album right there, and that was the story. And that's what I got to give to dude Carl in our group. He penned that. Well, he wrote that. Like, and Carlton used to study like soap operas and country music specifically to get certain kind of ideas. Because I don't like country music, but I got to admit they know how to tell a story.
Yes,
the old
right.
Country. And they good writers, man. What can you say? And so he did that and put that into that song. And the verse that I sung in the video, I was feeling it so much. I featured my wife as the other.
Right.
Yeah.
You like, baby, come on over here. We go.
Yeah. I was like, man,
I'm feeling this so much. We go
to visualize, for the fans or whatever. Because
wow,
lyrically.
That's big stuff, man. I love it, man. I love it. So what are you up to now, man?
Everything, man. Just living, trying to maximize myself, man. I teach right now at an alternative high school, teach English lit.
Nice.
Shai, we still got a lot. We got so many shows. Like, just in Detroit with like Tyrese and all that.
Yeah, talk about that, man, because I know y'all got some more things coming up. Yeah.
Man, we got a lot of shows coming up. And I was looking at my little calendar like, dang, you booked. You know what I'm saying?
You coming over Philly way anytime soon?
Yeah, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
That's not far.
Globetrotters, Chris. And it's I'm gonna tell you the date right now. Hold up. Boom.
Shoot, I have to drive out that way.
It's June. Is that 17th? June 17th for Juneteenth weekend. We're gonna be in Harrisburg.
June 17th. I may not have anything on that calendar, man. I might have to go show up here.
Free, man. I got you, bro. You got to you coming. Man, please.
You gotta come on over here to California.
Hold up. This is the thing. I know my wife a fan already. She from DC, man. My wife from DC. And when I say, go, listen, when I met her, I was like, hold up, we should run all up the stage for her and her girlfriends. Like, DC girls go straight to the stage, like they're into music. Like, they go hard. Philly girls, they stand back and chill. DC girls, they into the music. They forget about the boyfriend, man, whoever. When the band start playing, they is in the front. Like, they like, oh, we together, but I'm listening to him.
Hey, go tell Tina right now. Tell Tina Garfield Bright is on the street.
She out in them streets. She down in DC right now. She in DC right now.
Yeah, tell her who we got on right now.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I'm gonna text her and tell her, like, good Lord, Tina be watching. She be jumping on here watching, like, oh my God.
Jump to the screen.
Yo, that's crazy, man. Yeah, but DC showed us a lot of love, man. We was coming out of Howard. DC gave us love, man. Man, DC is hard.
Right.
DC love you. You got some love.
That's true.
Yeah, DC. Funny story when so we do the Go-Go song, right, with Jill. It's Love.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is, it was a whack jazz song we were doing. It was kind of like real jazzy. Same chorus, but we were doing some garbage beat to it. We was like, we don't like it.
So you say.
So we stripped it all the way down, left the chords, right? And then I got the old 48 key Fender Rhodes and played it straight through.
Ooh, why you say the Fender Rhodes, bro? Come on with that, man.
Put a Moog bass on it.
Ooh,
we got our boy Andre to come in and do the drums. And because we didn't have timbales, he tightened the drums up to make them real high pitch. And we just ran it. So them not real timbales. So we,
then that'll do it.
Jeff Bradshaw comes in with the trombone. And Jeff goes, so we lay all this stuff and make it sound like, so Jill, she good sized girl, but Jill was like, you know what I love? When Diana Ross and them would sing, and the background singers had that energy, and we mimicked that, give to me. So the whole thing about DC is this. So here's the thing about DC. Everybody's loving Words and Sounds, but when she had to do the show in DC, we was all nervous because we was like, and the band was actually Ty Tribbett's band now, like Spanky, the late Paris Bones, all of them, Terry Tribbett, they down there, and it's like this DC, and we about to do a go-go song in DC. When they hit that first chord,
that's dope. That's a talented dude right there. But go ahead.
They said. Who?
Okay, I tell you what. Hold on.
Oh Keith, Spank.
Hold on, Keith. Before you go on, let me do this because we got all the musicians, artists wanting to chime in right now. So here come, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Clifton Roberts.
Oh my!
Here come man. Here come man. That said he want to jump in too. Listen, folks.
Good Lord, you balling, James?
Hey, come on now. This Clifton Roberts, the man who helped orchestrate this whole thing right here. And Keith, you need to meet Cliff as well. Part of the music world, part of the music scene here on the West Coast. We call him Mail sometimes because that was his recording artist name. But
oh my gosh,
he was just giddy behind the scenes. I know when Garfield was going through the whole timeline of the music. So I said, brother, just come on, just get on screen. Because it don't get much better.
I'm humbled, first
of
all.
Come on, man. Y'all chop it up here. Look at what I got on this
you
screen.
Balling. You balling, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this
is
conscious conversations today, brother.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you inviting me, James. I'm going to just keep it short because I don't want to steal any spotlight from Garfield. First of all, his producer, Anthony Stout, who basically hooked this up. So blessings to him and his family, him and Michelle. And I really meant it when I said, when we first started talking to Garfield, I reminded James of our trips to Reno, and we be in the car singing Shai and Boys to Men. We each had our part. And I can truly say, James, I dabble in music, but I can truly say that Shai, and it's crazy, Garfield, because you were my part. Like, baby,
wow.
baby, that was part of my.
You gotta keep that light thing popping.
Yes, sir. So I'm just honored to just stop in and say hello, and man, it's just been wonderful. And James mentioned a masterclass. Your perspective on the evolution of music and hip hop and R&B, people needed that. People needed to hear the love versus the hate. And I didn't even know. I've watched the show with James and this other artist with the amazing background. And I didn't know this about you, sir. I didn't know your music background was that deep. And it's amazing to see you two together in the chemistry with the three of you. So I just wanted to stop in and say hello.
I love it, man. Hey, Keith, you and Cliff are freaking frack. I mean, you are mirror images in terms of production, grooming artists, and just that back of the house type of stuff. Cliff stepped to the front of the house too with Garfield, right? So, he can tag him in for some of them lines.
Wow.
Hey, I have a story about James. Man, when we were way younger.
Where my videos at?
Tell it.
When we were way younger, we used to go to a club and we would dance or whatever. And this producer in San Francisco, he wanted to form a group inspired by Shai.
Oh, shit.
And so we all got together. It was me, James,
what was it
three other people, and he had us in there doing the new edition, and we were singing, and he had me singing lead. And I have to tell you that it was inspired by brothers like you. And that's
It
it.
was.
That's crazy.
You know, Garfield, you know, I'm a technology person, right? You know, we work for a well-known semiconductor company, so that's my lane. But you guys are just inspiring and heroes to me, man. So anyway, I just wanted to
Man,
share that.
appreciate it.
Love you,
Appreciate
brother.
that.
Appreciate you for jumping in. I
Love
know
you
it was real
guys.
quick,
Take care.
but I couldn't let this opportunity pass without this happening. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. We're gonna do another session eventually with Cliff and Garfield talking about clean eating, taking care of the body.
Oh, word.
Right?
Oh, that's
Because
good.
see, you didn't even know. I'm just dropping it on you right now, right? We're gonna talk about making sure that black men, that folks, everybody, you know, step away from the animals. Let's get back to taking care of ourselves. Let's get plant based as much. If you can't go all the way, let's at least get close.
Right.
Well, let's at least have that dialogue and talk about it, because there's more pros than cons about
Indeed.
cleaning up what's going in your body. The old adage is you put garbage in. Well,
Yep.
okay.
It stays. That's the problem.
Yeah. So, hey, Garfield, man, I don't know what else to do right now. I'm flabbergasted, brother. You can either hang. Your lights done gone out. I don't know what's going on. I
I
don't know
know
if
I
it's
had the natural
tornado
light,
or
I had the
something.
shades open, but it's getting dark now, so I had to try to turn the light on in the ceiling, but the ceiling light bleeding all over me.
This brother got the lights turning off and everything. I want to do this, man. I want to be cognizant of your time, man, because I also want to bring you back and have a follow-on discussion. So hold on, KP. I'm gonna pull you off in just 1 second, brother. But let's do this, man. Let's schedule some more time for you to come back, have that discussion, have the discussion with Cliff as well about some other things. But you just blessed everyone with all of this knowledge, and the fact that you and KP got a chance to chop it up a little bit. I'm gonna make sure you get his contact information, because y'all in the same lane, run with the same folks, probably got the same numbers in your phone, right, in your Rolodex, right, which is crazy.
Man, I would love to do a song.
He playing. See, it's his music that he playing behind the scene right now. It's not copyright, but
no,
you hear him playing. Lord have mercy, I don't know what to do. Oh, hold on, KP. Let me mute you, man, because I'm gonna let Garfield do the outro right quick and take us home, and then you stay there. Tell folks where they can find you, though, brother, because I think that's important as well, and I want to give you that floor for the next shows that you're doing, your music. Tell folks about the Garfield Bright experience, if you don't mind.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at, like you just said, the Garfield Bright Experience. Same thing for Facebook and TikTok. Yeah, TikTok as well. And you can find Shai 90s official, and then there's another site called Shai Hieroglyphics, like SHAIROGLYPHICS, Shai Hieroglyphics. And so those are the places you can kind of find me, or the group, the current iteration of the group.
Love it. Love it. All right, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do, because so Keith, should I end this screen and then you come back? I don't know.
I'm on your time, whatever. I just now hit the follow on Garfield.
Yeah, so
that's crazy, man. James, you the man for this, man.
I don't know what I'm again. I'm at a loss for words. I'm just feeling again cloud 12 right now. This is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna end this one, then we're gonna come back for the next session. Dr. Garfield Bright, my goodness, bless you, brother. You're a good man.
Thanks for having me.
Continue doing what you're doing, though, man. Continue doing what and I know you will. I'm just saying that. I'm gonna give you these flowers. Continue doing what you're doing, because we watching and we appreciate you. We appreciate what all the other cats in the group are doing, obviously, as well, and what you're doing on your solo stuff, what you're doing with the youth. But we watching, and we gonna be in the stands. I'm not gonna run up on stage,
you, man.
But I'm
you crazy, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
I'll check y'all out.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Later on, man.